instant. Yeah, the age of digital.
All right, back with Mr. Storing in the studio with a new puzzle on the table.
What is this puzzle? This is a Star Wars one,
the
right?
classic action figures, man.
That's amazing.
Look at all the ones on the back, actually.
Okay, so there's even more.
Yeah, I would like to do the Boba Fett. A friend of mine is doing the Boba Fett.
That's a good one. I like it.
And then the Yoda right over here. Apparently that one's pretty hard.
Dagobah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's good stuff. So we're doing kind of an impromptu Music Unraveled podcast. Thank you for collaborating on various topics, because I love talking about different things, and I hate dumping all of the things I like on one audience at the same time. We gotta segregate it out. So we're just gonna do Pink Floyd singles. And you're just gonna direct me what to pull up. We're gonna talk about them. And we're going to do some future podcasts with previous guest Jeremy Barlow.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Trifecta.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll cover we'll cover like Piper at the Gates of Dawn with Jeremy, but we'll start this off with the early Pink Floyd singles, which were from 1967, 68, and I think their first release was Arnold Lane, which was backed with the B-side Candy and a Currant Bun, I think is the name of the B-side. Both songs written by Syd Barrett, who was the original lead, frontman of Pink Floyd. It's weird. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily realize that, like, Pink Floyd were.
I agree. They don't get
psychedelic, like band that. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
This is a weird little video.
It is, but it's of its era, but it's. I don't know. It's great. But this song is, I would say, very typical of early Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett, and almost like I don't want to describe it necessarily as childlike, because it's a song about a cross-dresser. But it does have a sort of sing-songy rhyme.
It's a pop song.
Yeah, right. It's a full-on pop song. But yeah,
was this their very first video that the Floyd did?
I think so.
Were they called the Floyd at this time?
At this time, I think they were. I want to say they were the Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Which
maybe I've just heard people refer to him as the Floyd early in the history of the band that were like close to him.
Well, as far as I understand it, I think they took the name from, was it like two blues musicians?
Yes, right? I believe so.
Yeah, which kind of fitting. Even though for this period it's kind of not, because it's like psychedelic stuff. It's not blues, but it's weird to see these guys. They're so young, you know.
Yeah. Roger Waters. Somebody said this in like a documentary I was watching. Like, he was like, he aged well, but did not look like super attractive as a younger guy.
No.
But David Gilmour kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
That's cool how they do the reverse. So yeah, and David Gilmour not in the band at this point. That's the fascinating part. That's what a lot of anti-Gilmour are people, not like they're anti, but people that are more on the Roger Waters side of things, like to cite is like, hey, look at this. Remember this time?
Right. Yeah, because this is when you had Syd Barrett, you had Roger Waters, Richard Wright, and Nick Mason.
Yeah. Richard Wright has since passed, right? Nick Mason was playing some of the Barrett era stuff with some other musicians, and it's incredible. We could we don't have to do it on the podcast, but there is some great videos on YouTube of it.
Yeah,
the live performance, good audio. It blew my mind. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that's what I love about Roger's stuff too, is he's just able to recreate it.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Arnold Lane.
Okay, what'd you say the B-side was?
The B-side to that was called Candy and a Currant Bun, which I think Candy and a Currant Bun was actually covered by the Mars Volta.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My friend Dylan Sparks loves the Mars Volta. He is talking about them all the time.
Yeah.
I remember, you remember Andrew McDougall, right?
Yes.
He loved the Mars Volta.
Yeah, I always liked the Mars Volta quite a lot.
I never bought any of their albums or anything. I listened to them a little bit over the years. I can't even remember their one song that I had like in rotation or whatever. But
right.
I should probably get it. Every time I listen to them, I'm like, these things are blowing my mind.
Yeah. I used to be into sort of their original incarnation, which was called At the Drive-In. That's what, the two leads or whatever were known as back then. But I feel like have an appreciation for like early Pink Floyd stuff, because At the Drive-In covered Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk, which is off of Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Candy in a Currant Bun, but listening to this, yeah, it's very, very pop, very, very bouncy.
Very of the time period, though,
yeah,
right?
It is.
Well, think about the studio space that they were sharing with people at the time, like the people they were passing in the halls.
Right, yeah, that's true. Actually, Pink Floyd, when they signed with EMI, part of the stipulation in their contract was for less royalties. They actually got more studio time, so they had more time to work on stuff and all that. But yeah, allegedly, right at the time they were recording Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the Beatles are supposed to be at Abbey Road Studios recording Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right? And I believe Pink Floyd actually got to sit in.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Right, and listen to some of the Beatles stuff as they're recording it.
Wow.
So
we were talking about Have a Cigar. Who's the singer of that? I was trying to tell somebody the other day, and I can't remember who it is.
Roy Harper.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? And that whole line about which one is pink, that is a fascinating song. It's like it's the one song on the album that neither Roger or David sings.
Yes. Even though Roger did sing the original or whatever, but his voice was allegedly shot at that point and he wasn't able to do it, so they brought in Roy Harper.
Fascinating.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that line, which by the way, which one's pink? Yeah, that's pretty synonymous with the Pink Floyd lore, I guess. Did that happen? I wouldn't be surprised.
Have you seen like all? I've seen several documentaries. I think I've seen probably all the Pink Floyd documentaries out there. Not super recently, but within the last 2 or 3 years. But there's a lot of great documentaries out there over the band and over the individual albums, over the band breaking up, and just tons of good stuff. And the Live Aid concert is great.
Right. Yeah, that was in 2005, I think. That was the last time.
There's some great of the last, and I don't know if he's on tour right now, but the Roger Waters shows, there's some great video of those. He put on such an incredible show. Okay, single number 3.
Okay, so next up, I think we have See Emily Play, I think would be the next one, which like I mentioned earlier, talking about how few people are kind of aware that, there was this earlier phase of Pink Floyd where they're this psychedelic band, right? And is it right? It wasn't until like I was like a teenager or whatever that there was, in 2001, there was a greatest hits type thing that came out. It was called Echoes, Best Pink Floyd.
Oh,
right?
I love that song, dude. And I love that. The groove, the bass, and
But like there was it was like a best of, and they had this song on there, and they had like Arnold Lane on there, and they had like a couple other tracks off of like Piper, and I was like, man, I didn't even know about this side of the band. I was like 15, 16 years old at the time, and I don't know, it just really opened up a lot of things.
I bet they
musically.
Do they have a lot of singles?
Like the early Floyd?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, with Barrett, they only had 3, but they did have other singles. If you want to run like all the way up to like Dark Side, of course.
No, I was just looking, usually because Floyd has so much discography. Like I have like a premium Spotify through the gym I'm looking at for discography, But
hey, there's David. Yeah, David Gilmour.
David's in this video?
Yeah, well, he's playing the white... He's playing a white Telecaster, which I believe actually belonged to Syd Barrett. Yeah.
I've always... Isn't it weird to want certain color guitars?
Yeah.
It's not just a certain kind, a certain color.
Yeah.
Because I would love a white. I would love that sort of seafoam green. Surf, what is that called? That color? I always
surf green.
Surf green.
Surf green.
You know, I would love a yellow guitar too. I do this with the geese at the gym. I have a purple martial arts uniform I wear right now, and a red one.
I just like how they're out there with these instruments and stuff, and it's like, man, I wouldn't be doing that with my guitars. You know?
For real.
Yeah. It's like Roger Waters is playing, or he's playing around with a Rickenbacker bass, and it's like, no, man, that's like several $1,000s. You know, it's like, I wouldn't lay it on the ground like that. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, if you're ultra cool rock star or whatever, I guess, you know, you can, but
I wonder if David Gilmour enjoys doing that.
Wow.
The new guy.
Yeah, and Syd Barrett's not in this video, right? I mean, by that point, I guess, you know, even though he wrote See Emily Play and he plays on it and he sings it and all that, yeah, he's not there, which is
many ways
is interesting. That's extremely interesting. So the B-side, I want to say to oh hey. Now we're to like later
autoplay, man.
Yeah,
I love it. It's a great feature.
Cool. But
that's why I love just sitting here listening to music.
I think the B-side to See Emily Play, which was done for like a concert. I mean, it was like a single made for a concert, like an advertisement type thing. Was the Scarecrow, which is off of Piper at the Gates of Dawn. That was the B-side of that. And that's a good song. I mean, it's one we'll probably mention when we talk about Piper with Jeremy.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think kind of what's interesting about like songs like it, right, is where they're kind of like warped, weird fairy tales in a way, or they're like storybook type things. Yeah. And the Scarecrow is a perfect example of that.
So are you planning on going to the Comic-Con? Yeah. We should. I'll shoot a message out, and maybe like a month from now or something, or sometime next month, we should schedule maybe that MCU Phase 1 discussion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it would be super cool to podcast or do like a mini documentary, like film at the event or something at the Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, that's good.
That'd be cool. I want to do more like documentary style stuff other than just a straight podcast.
Yeah.
I have with the gym page. But
yeah. Dude, that's such a cool guitar, man.
I love Telecaster.
Yeah, I do
you have
too.
a Tele?
Not anymore.
And you look
hate
sad when you said that. You look down.
I love Telecasters. They're so good. Like,
have you played my Tele in there? It's just a Squire, but the pickups in it are unique.
Yeah, I'll have to try it. But man, I love Telecasters. Like, I mean, you played the Stratocaster I have, and I love that guitar, man. That is beautiful, a great guitar. But there's just, I don't know, man. There's just something about a Telecaster to me that's just, it's like, so even though it's like technically a plank with some strings on it, you know, it's still like, man, there's something magic about it.
It's an interesting it's fascinating, all like the Gibsons with the set neck, solid body, like the Strats, a bolt-in neck, but you've got the hole through the back, right? But a Tele's, like you said, it's just a solid slab of wood, but it's got the bolt-on neck. It's like the different combinations of things like that.
Okay, so that was Scarecrow, which was on Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and hey,
David had already taken over the band.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you have Syd, right, singing the studio tracks, but you have David Gilmour like doing the like miming the lyrics and stuff in the videos.
I saw that.
You know, I mean, that's kind of weird, but
I believe this is the song that Nick Mason and them were opening with At least
a good one.
The one they opened with in the concert that I saw, because they had like a whole concert on YouTube at the time.
Which I never even thought about the pronunciation.
I was thinking about that today. Man, I approach so many weird words teaching now.
Yeah,
I had to look them up.
Let's see who's in this video. If it's there's David again.
Looking extra young, David.
Yeah. And their clothes were just outrageous, man. It's just like,
yeah, Pink Floyd got a lot harder looking in the years.
Yeah, definitely. Like they're, like they're working musicians, like they're turning around in a van or whatever like that. At this point, it's like, man,
I need to do something Floyd related in the new studio, man, like a mural or something.
Yeah.
Man, my goal is to be able to do some pretty high quality recording instrumentals or whatever. I don't know how fast I will get it, but I missed an opportunity to buy a mixer board, and I even got the go ahead from Cora, but it's the Behringer, it's got the X32, and it's got the built-in audio interface as well.
Yeah.
So for what I'm wanting to do with like Tiny Desk concerts and stuff, that's what I need. But the quality tracks I could put out, it's got onboard storage as well.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Right.
I just we're about to drop like $40,000.
All right.
So I mean,
make it count.
Well, a lot of that is equity that we got from the sale of our building.
Right.
So it's not like but also a lot of that is for a new heating and cooling unit. So
yeah.
What are they doing?
Like, the cool thing to me about like the Barrett era stuff is that it is poppy, it is catchy, it does have like almost like I like the storybook type thing to it, but a lot of it is dark, man.
Yeah,
it's like really dark. It's kind of like that Grimm's fairy tale type thing.
I've seen some of their live performances from this era. Like, I want to say, I may not have been a live performance, but it's like, what's the one where you see like the silhouette of Sid a lot?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They do some real interesting things with shadows.
Yeah.
They're very creative. Like, this effect on this video is kind of like lava lampy.
Right.
Kind of blotchy.
Like, right. I'm curious, like, how much input that like Barrett had like in their sort of like live performance stuff. Like, I mean, like in terms of like lighting and stuff, because I mean, he was an artist. Before, he was doing the musician thing or whatever, he was doing paintings and stuff like that. So I'm curious, the artistic eye, sort of like
the creative genius, man.
But yeah, this is such a good song. Like,
this is the first song on the first album, right?
Yep.
It's Piper at the Gates of Dawn, then Saucer Full of Secrets.
Right. Yeah. Those are the two that Barrett appear on,
and we'll try and knock both those out with Jeremy in one
we
cast.
will, because I mean, I know he's gonna have like an interesting take on all this. I mean, he always does.
I need to talk Jeremy into doing like a Tool album review.
Yeah.
Do you like Tool very much?
I'm okay with Tool. Like to me, their best album was like Lateralis.
I was listening to Lateralis today, just the title track on my way to work. I put it on.
I mean, like I like progressive rock to begin with, and so it's just like I don't know, to me, like, and Lateralis to me, like as far as production goes, I feel is like wonderful. Like, the earlier Tool stuff is kind of grimy, like,
For sure.
but it's like, that was like crystal clear, kind of like, man, I could like dive into this stuff,
I recently listened to Maynard's book, a perfect union of contrary things. That's what it's called. But man, it goes real into detail on his whole life.
Yeah.
And all three of the bands. it was amazing. But honestly, it made me look at all of his work differently too, and like almost like so much more of his stuff than I thought is about his mom.
Right.
Cause she had like a brain aneurysm, and he had to like move him to his dad and stuff. It's wild.
Yeah.
Which I knew that, but I didn't know to the extent of what went on with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just I think the next single is called "Apples and Oranges," and it was the last official like release single under Syd Barrett's kind
here
of.
He is in the video.
Right, which I don't think Syd appears in this one either.
The Pink Floyd.
Oh, okay. No, this is the live. This is Dick Clark. Right. This is.
You want to watch this? Or you want me to? That's just the first one.
Well, no. I mean, because Barrett appears in this one. I think it's like a. See, there he is, right there, and with the Telecaster, which I believe we saw David Gilmour with earlier, but. Even then, he's supposed to be strung out at this point.
So, in the mainstream theory, is that he took too much acid.
Yeah,
for
that
too
he
long.
fried his brain on LSD. That's what. Is that he just took too much or whatever, and he never came back. Like allegedly during this time period, he had like just a blank, vacant stare, and. But like, yeah, he was supposed to like not be there. I mean. There's a performance that he did, or that Pink Floyd did with Syd Barrett on, I want to say it was Pat Boone show, which I don't think is on YouTube, but allegedly where he just where they had a similar performance to what we see here with Dick Clark, where they're lip syncing right to the single, to the track. And that Barrett just didn't lip sync to it. That he just stared blankly at the camera the entire time. Yeah.
Well, I heard David Gilmour tell a story. Maybe. So David Gilmour played live with Syd Barrett,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Apparently, like, and you mentioned this too. I think like Syd Barrett just played the same note over and over and over, but he would do weird stuff like that at different live performances. And David Gilmour's like, I would just turn my back and feel so embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, it reached the point where they were turning off like the audio to Syd and just kind of just letting him wander around stage. So like you couldn't hear him like whatever he was doing on guitar, and that's why you had David Gilmour there to kind of cover that up, you know. But yeah, that he would just like wander kind of aimlessly around stage.
I mean, I wonder what makes David Gilmour so unique. He's such a good guitar player, man. Like, and it's like he just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Happened into this band that this guy was going crazy at the same time.
I mean, there you go, right there. Just look at that. That's poor Syd, man. But it's just like, even though he's like sort of competently trying to like kind of mime along to it, it's just like, yeah, there's probably something going on with this guy. You know, there's definitely some otherness or something. He's off. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. But
yeah, look at that dead stare.
Yeah, I know.
Man.
I know. It's just it's sad.
It's apparent.
Yeah, and then I think this is like an interview. Yeah, just let Roger do the talking, right? Oh my gosh, they're so young, man. And that's great that he sounds like identical. Wow.
Okay, so we're listening to this. Who is this?
This is Dick Clark.
Okay, Dick Clark.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting here in silence listening to this weird interview.
Yeah, well, okay.
It is an interesting way to interview people.
Which, I mean, pretty much, I mean, you saw Dick Clark talk to Roger Waters and...
this is the video I was talking about, actually. This isn't live, but this is freaking weird. Right? What album is this?
Now this would be, I think, Piper. I think this is Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This is yeah. This is Pow R. Is it Touch?
Pow R or TOC and then a space, capital H.
Yeah. See, I didn't know if it's supposed to be like Power Touch or Power. I always went, what is it? You know. But yeah, that's off Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and yeah, that was different. That's definitely different. You know, there's
fascinating,
right? But let's see, the B-side to Apples and Oranges was Paint Box, which is a Richard Wright composition. So
Paint Box,
yeah, Paint Box, which at this point, right, you have the reins are being kind of like the control is no longer with Sid, right?
Yes.
You know, you got other voices stepping in at this point. So you get Richard Wright, who I think he's a very good songwriter.
Is that Sid's guitar again?
Yeah, we keep seeing it. I feel maybe that's what all David had at that point. He didn't have. I know he had a white Stratocaster at some point early on, and I think it got stolen. Is what happened, and eventually he ends up, of course, with like the black Strat. But this, it lacks the, I want to say it lacks the dark whimsy of like the Syd Barrett stuff. I mean, it's a good composition. It's just, to me, it's more light. You know, it's more soft. It's not as abrasive at times as some of the...
How many songs did he sing for the band? Very many?
Well, who?
Richard Wright.
You know, I would say several. Yeah, of course. I mean, these early singles like this, he had a few. He did several songs on Saucer Full of Secrets. I think I like the vocals on like Us and Them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but
yeah, this does have a softer feel to it.
Right. It's definitely, some of the Barrett stuff feels,
drums right there.
Yeah. So, some of the Barrett stuff feels like kind of uneasy and even kind of threatening, you know, at times. And but this is like opposite of that. This is like kind of feel good, like hey, I'm just chilling type thing, uppity. You know.
I hope David doesn't fall off.
Yeah.
he's making me nervous back there. He's standing on a high ledge. It's like a bridge. I guess they're playing on a bridge.
Yeah. I feel like they just shot all these videos like at once.
I know, right? I should start doing my podcast in black and white. I wouldn't have to do lighting. See, that's another reason I want to get a new table. I'm going to get something that's non-reflective. This table's reflective, and it makes working puzzles hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Cora's not happy about it.
I used to rag on Nick Mason a lot, and he's great. You know, I used to be, man, how must it feel to be like the least talented member of Pink Floyd? You know, it's like, you know, but it's like, no, man, like I've heard him in interviews and stuff, and he's a real cool guy. You know, he's just...
So, do you think we will ever see Pink Floyd again?
Oh,
without Richard Wright, of course, but the three remaining members that are alive.
I don't think so.
There's been some chatter about it. Like David Gilmour in a recent interview said some things that like alluded to the possibility.
Yeah, I think they should just let it be, man. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you know, the Live Aid thing or whatever, they got the core four back together or whatever, and it's
I'd love to see David Gilmour play.
Yeah,
I would go see him play somewhere. Yeah, I would even fly. The furthest I've been to DC for a concert, and I've been to Vegas for a concert.
Yeah. Like, hey, we're back to Candy and a Current Bun here. But like, what guitars is David Gilmour using now, since he sold them all at auction? You know?
Oh man, I know, right? He's probably onto some new thing. I wonder how that works with like somebody like David Gilmour. Does he age out and just like stop developing with the music technology that's out there right now?
Yeah.
Or does, I mean, you know, like I've gone through that with many things. Like I'm going through it with like just my approach to history right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going through it with like my jiu-jitsu. I'm like changing all these things up to evolve, right?
Right.
Nobody likes changing shit up, especially when you're David Gilmour. Imagine like, dude, you don't really have to change very much.
Yeah.
He just comes up with great stuff. But at some point, are you just always going to play the black on black Stratocaster? Or
yeah.
I don't know.
Right. I don't know if you're millionaire rock star or whatever, do you just like constantly have the gear acquisition syndrome, the gas or whatever, where you're constantly like, man, I want that guitar or whatever, you know, or that piece of equipment or whatever. Oh, that looks cool. You know,
there is some sort of weird liberation in knowing you could buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You could just walk into a shop and be like, yeah, I'll take that one up there. You know,
man, I consider going to Little Rock this weekend, and I was going to go to Guitar Center if I did, just because we were talking about it.
Yeah,
there's some martial arts seminars that I could attend. One of my coaches is having, and I considered doing that and going to the record store. What's the record? What is that one called in Little Rock? It's got some catchy name.
Have
you been to it?
No. No, the record buying that I did was usually in Northwest Arkansas. That's Block Street Records, which is pretty cool. They have two locations, one in Fayetteville and I think one in Bentonville.
Been Around
Records, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know, because last time I was at a record store in Little Rock, it was this place where they just had copious amounts of vinyl just stacked on top of each other. It was amazing. I mean, it was incredible.
Is it this right here, probably?
Yeah, that may have been it. That may have been exactly. I mean, that was like 2012. That was like the last time I was there. But like, it's like, man, you know, there's so much vinyl here. And
yeah.
It's like, man, I don't even know, you know, where to. You know, is this even alphabetized or, you know, anything like that?
That's kind of the cool part about it that everybody talks about too, digging through the vinyl, like the process. It's kind of like yard sailing.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do we got here? Let me take a look around.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, before, like, we had, like, vinyl record stores kind of in the area or whatnot. The only place I knew to buy vinyl was a shop up in Fayetteville that was called Clunk Records. This was like back in the early 2000s. But like, other than that, it's like, yeah, maybe you would go to like somebody's yard sale, but it's like all you would find vinyl wise is like a bunch of old country records or something like that. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Well, this appeals to somebody, but not to me.
I did. Somebody gave me a bunch. It was Corey's grandpa, actually, and I laminated them into the top of my record player there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. It's very nice.
Man, I'm looking forward to the larger studio space because things will be way less cramped, and it'll be like I think I'm gonna be able to even fit a couch in there comfortably.
Cool.
It's a wide, long room.
Yeah.
So wider than this room, and I would say double the length at least of this room. Right. So it's gonna be nice and spread out.
That's I look forward to it. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be legit, man. I'm excited. It's closer to my house.
Right.
It's also closer to the interstate if I'm getting off work.
Yeah.
And I want to do a podcast like right as I'm getting off work.
Well, I feel like we're going to need comfortable surroundings for the 1968 series anyway.
Yes, I'm gonna get more history.
Huge.
I have a whole list of like historical images I'm trying to implement into the studio in some way, like the image of the execution from Tet, the Black Power image at the Olympics, the self-immolation of the Buddhist monk, Napalm Girl.
Yeah.
Like just a whole bunch of images, like just get like a collage of black and white images or something. And, you know, there's just like certain images in history that are just like, they bore a hole in your brain, man.
Yeah, they stick. Right.
And like Jordan Peterson talks about this. I don't know if you have followed him very much, but it's like, it's like a reminder. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like you put it up. So you like, that's like one of the things that I grapple with a lot is like atrocities, man.
Right.
Like I was explaining these Aztecs sacrificed 84,000 people.
Yeah.
In 4 days.
Yeah.
With obsidian blades. What is that? Like, what do you have to be on? Like, that's what, like, literally, like I said this in class, like, what do you have to be on?
Right.
To do that to people?
Yeah.
Because the theory, like Graham Hancock and others go into this. He's not the most reputable historian, right?
Okay.
Not really. He's a writer and a journalist, but there's a lot of people that talk about this, that their priesthood was on some like either a mushroom or some sort of like a peyote, flower sage type drug, and they had done it to the point of like absolute paranoia of like, hey, we're talking to war god and we gotta do this.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like what, like we talk about like organizing cities and social structures and stuff, and it's like, yeah, and in that organization, let's organize the killing of 84,000 people. Like, what encourages or spurs that? That's mind blowing to me. Or what encourages all the stuff from the Vietnam War. I recently did Quiet American over the last few days. Set in 55, released in 55 too. And Dispatches, that one I was telling you about. It's 67, 68. Khe Sanh. This guy's at Khe Sanh. But it's fascinating.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good images from that era, though.
Yes, there is. Which I think about, like the psychedelic stuff, you know, kind of ties into all this too. So that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, the counterculture movement, or the, you know, whether or not the psychedelic, the connection of like psychedelic drugs to the counterculture movement and the introduction of new sort of ideas into the collective consciousness. Yeah. That's an interesting thing I've heard people talk about quite a bit. Right.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that, right, this Pink Floyd stuff ties into that. Yeah, psychedelic, sort of Timothy Leary type stuff. And here you have Syd Barrett, casualty, right? Alleged casualty of you know, this expanding your consciousness or whatever.
You know, okay, so I have a theory on that. About, so he's like 19, 20 years old.
Yes.
Like, what if, let's say that psychedelic drugs do expand your consciousness. That's what everybody says, right?
Yeah.
That's the mainstream.
Allegedly.
That's like the stereotype, whatever. So if they do, but you're like stuck in a 19, 20-year-old body, but you expand your consciousness to a point of like a, you know, an aged adult metaphor, you know, just like can compare, you know, kind of, then can you like outgrow, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not ready, like you're literally ahead of your time consciously, so you can't deal with your day-to-day sort of task and stuff. I don't know, that's kind of a weird metaphor, but it's just like, I think there's a balance to that, like how, like the usage of those things and like how old you are. And then also the I talked to a physics professor the other day, Dr. Nandi Vada, and she's like, no, your brain never stops developing. Right. Because I was like, hey, you know, and she was really like talking about lifelong learning, you know, but I was like, but I get that too, because you can always do things to improve the health of your brain. That's like why I was taking some of the mushroom supplements from the host defense, Paul Stamets. But I mean, it's that you can form new neural pathways. You can make better connections. You can work on things to make your memory sharp.
Right.
But maybe mental illness is the marker. Like maybe, like you were saying, I can't remember if we were recording, Sid Barrett might have had some mental illness and just never been able to come back from it.
Yeah, well, I mean, right. The three prominent theories, of course, are right, that he either burned his brain out on LSD.
Must have been some of that CIA LSD.
Yeah, the MK Ultra stuff. Yeah, that right. But or that what I've heard from interviews with David Gilmour, who claimed that Sid Barrett was pretty much headed on this path anyway, drugs or not. I mean, drugs did contribute somewhat, but that he was already not coping with fame or with that. With being in a rock band, right?
I probably couldn't cope with it, man, honestly.
And having to meet or to write hit singles and hit songs and things like that. Or the third one that I've heard is that he was possibly autistic and on the spectrum at somewhere, and that sort of led to the considered odd behavior. It's considered right.
I should know more about this, but when did we first start having? I mean, have there always been autistic people, or is this a recent?
Right. See, I want to say it's one of those things where it's been around, but it's like not been properly diagnosed,
talked about, recognized for what it is.
Yeah. But, right. That Sid Barrett wasn't technically insane or anything like that. He was just different. Just wired differently.
Isn't it crazy? People that are so creative usually struggle the most.
Yeah.
Right? Like fitting into this sort of rat race we got going on here.
Yeah.
Right. It is. It's a rat race, man. It's weird. It's super weird.
Yeah.
Like all the things you have to do, all the taxes. Like the amount of taxes I have to pay, like, oh, man, like, it makes no sense.
Right.
Over 30% of the gross income that my business generates goes away.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is.
Over, if I'm not mistaken, over 35%.
Jeez.
Yeah, because we generate a lot of revenue, but we also, we there's mortgage, utilities, payroll. Dude, payroll tax. Mm-hmm. That's where they get you. They get you everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus there's property taxes. It's weird.
Yeah.
Now, are you renting?
No, we bought our house. So.
Yeah. How long have you lived there?
5 years now. Yeah, we've been there. We bought the house in October of 2014, so we've been there 5 years.
Yeah. Is Terry's family from Paris or?
No, they're in Dardanelle. Yeah.
Okay. They're so kind of the midpoint between here and there.
Yeah.
Well, not quite.
Well, that's kind of how that worked, right? Because she works in Boonville. She works at the school there.
Yeah.
And then I work in Russellville.
She
teaches just elementary, just like I want to say it's like first to like fourth or fifth grades.
Yeah. I almost taught high school, and then I was like,
yeah, no.
It worked out, I suppose. Man, it's great when I'm teaching at the college. Any other time is not cool.
Right.
I mean, during the semester, like, well, even today I had to turn in a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just want to teach the classes, man. That's it. Like, okay, look, the oversight, like, that's a rough transition from being an entrepreneur to, for 5 years, I stopped working at the university. I only worked at my own business. And then, like, now I have, like, oversight, like, hey, are you in your office? You keeping those office hours? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. Geez, I'm here like 11 hours more than they are at UCA a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard time on the awareness. So I feel like I can say this on this podcast because none of my coworkers will listen to a podcast about Pink Floyd singles.
Yeah. It's kind of like you kind of Trojan horse this.
Yeah, way, right.
It's like nobody will suspect that you're putting this content in here.
Yeah, man, I don't mind being in my office, but there's going to come a time where I just use it for other things because, like, man, I really have the courses I teach. Really, I'm tightening a lot of screws on like the first unit this semester, but then it's just going to be a lot of minor tweaks as I go along. I feel like I've got a good handle on each of the courses I'm teaching right now. I haven't taught US2 yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Well, what is it? Okay, what does that entail exactly?
Reconstruction to present.
Okay.
Or
so
to 2001, depends.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's where I usually see the cutoff at. It's like we, in one of my grad courses, had to read a book, which we had to read, I think it was called, I want to say it was called Restless Giant by James Patterson, but it was like from 74 to like 2001. And Patterson like intentionally cut it off like right after the presidential election in 2000, which was George W. Bush versus Al Gore and that whole fiasco over the voting.
I remember that. I was young. I was like 14 years old.
Right.
But
and that even though the book was like published probably 10 years ago or something like that, he said that he felt that he didn't want to tackle any of the 2001, like specifically the September 11th 2001 war on terror stuff, because he felt that not enough time had passed in order to be able to sort of retrospectively analyze what happened. That we're still too close to these events to be able to like sort of gauge them.
I agree with that. The same thing on the Iraq war, the same thing on Afghanistan.
Right.
I think that, I mean, what we're doing in the Middle East in our lifetime will be viewed in 50 years like you and I view Vietnam right now.
Yeah. Right.
But more.
Right.
I think more complex. That's just my theory, because it's now officially lasted for, we've been in that theater for longer.
Right. I mean, well, we've been there for recently, right, we've got all this stuff going on with Iran, right, this whole fiasco, but I mean that dates back to like the 50s, man.
It
the
really
CIA right, came in there and installed their own
some democracy
puppet government in terms of the Shah, and that leads later to the Ayatollah Khomeini and this anti-American resentment and all that. I think it's called blowback. I think that's what the term is for that.
It's they drone struck that dude Soleimani. Killed him while he was driving in a drone. Or with a drone rather. That's wild. Just popping people with a remote control helicopter.
That's the future.
While they're driving. That's wild.
But like back to sort of this idea of when should we cut off history or whatnot. The interesting thing I think about the September 11th 2001 deal is that, like I said, Patterson in this book is like, well, I don't think enough time has passed where we can gauge it. But it's even like now, I mean, you think about it, that was almost 20 yeers ago, that happened. And it's like, is it time, or do we just keep putting it off because we don't want to deal with it? We don't. Is there like a stigma that's attached to it?
You know what Jeff Wood said is that he thinks, because we were kind of discussing whether or not the access to the information that we have access to at the speed that we have access to it, like listening to audiobooks or Googling things, or just like the vast array of ways we can access information and resources, could help us arrive at faster interpretations of recent events. So like the 45 to present era, we can derive faster interpretations than any time previously since the invention of the printing press. right?
Right.
But other people argue the opposite, that it muddles it.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I think the answer is probably both, in that you have to revert back to research techniques and methods, being unbiased, having an open mind, and
you have to have a skill set.
And even as a trained researcher, it's so easy to fall into traps.
Yes. Right.
Share a fake robot video, on your podcast page, and Josh Wilson calls you out about it.
Did this happen? I mean,
it did. It has happened. Yeah. I'm like, that's sick. Share. And it's like, that's fake.
Fake robot, huh?
Yeah. There's like something where like a robot got knocked down, it like rolled over and like fired rounds out of a gun. Everybody was like, Skynet, it's here.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, but it was apparently like, or in like one, like you pushed it and it like corrected its balance and didn't fall over.
Yeah.
But there is some fascinating technology. Like there's a lightsaber laser thing in that silver case right there, and you can like light the tip of a match immediately with it.
Wow.
If I have that, like, what's the CIA got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, this is all reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology.
We're in a petri dish, man.
Yeah. A zoo.
Yeah.
For extraterrestrial visitors.
Yeah.
Which, thanks, Internet, for running rampant theories like that out there.
What do you think about the whole 9/11 truther movement? Have you done much research into that?
I've done, a little bit. I mean, with the background of the Kennedy assassination stuff.
You mentioned that during your thesis defense.
Is that I don't really put much stock even into September 11th conspiracy theories, because some of them are just so outrageous. I mean, they're pretty outlandish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you think about the one with the Pentagon not the plane not hitting the Pentagon?
I want to say that was like one of the earliest like theories that came out of that. And I've actually thought about, like, because it's like, well, I wrote about the Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories, well, maybe I should write about September 11th, because it's like, because that's the big conspiracy of our time, right? Or the big event of our time, right? It's like the Kennedy assassination to us. We remember exactly where we were when we heard it, even though I've heard studies that claim that people misremember where they were, or specific. I've heard this about the Kennedy assassination.
That's why eyewitness testimonies are not.
Yeah, is that? Well, I remember this, and maybe in your mind, you do, but it's like, well, okay, no, that didn't happen, or whatever. It didn't happen the way that you thought it did. But the September 11th conspiracy theories, I think people, of course, have the right to question and ask and demand answers for things, but I do think a lot of it is outrageous. But yeah, one of the earliest theories was right, that the Pentagon was hit by a missile, right? It wasn't supposed to be like a plane or whatever. It was supposed to be a
bomb inside of it. I've heard a conspiracy that the part of it that blew up was where they were like, the day before there had been this broadcast aired that was like, well, there's like $1 trillion missing from this account, and then they blew up that part.
Yeah.
That like, if a plane hit it, then why didn't any cameras capture it? And then what's the Tower 7? That's a big one. People like
right.
To go
yeah.
into.
That's like the one that often people go back to. It's kind of it is thought-provoking. It is like the grassy knoll of the 9/11 truther thing, right? It's like,
here's the grassy knoll for me. The one thing that I'm like that I remember hearing in junior high.
Okay.
And I was like, but it's all like a context thing. Like, looking back, I remember hearing it in junior high, but looking back on it now and like how it made me feel and stuff. Plane crashes into the tower.
Okay.
Tower crumbles in on itself, incinerates to a point that the jet fuel melts the poles. And if you go with the whole accepted theory and everything, but we found his passports.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something you just can't get your,
I can't get my mind around that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying probably stranger things have happened at some point,
Possibly.
and I mean, also you have to think that these planes were traveling at what, 400 or 500 miles per hour or something like that when they impacted the tower. So there's going to be debris that gets thrown.
Yeah.
Right? So it's possible that it may have escaped. Right.
I would like to look more into that one.
Right.
Right. I don't know anything about it other than that's the one that I've heard people bring up.
Right.
That stuck out to me.
I'm not like belittling anybody for saying, hey, well, that's suspicious, because it's like, okay, yeah, well, that is odd. Right. I mean, but probably stranger things have happened, and I don't know. I just think that I mean, of course, there are wilder theories out there, but right, that this was planted or whatever, I think that it would be much easier, and this is weird that we've gone off on this tangent, right, and talking about Pink Floyd to this, right, that if you do the Occam's razor thing, right, it makes so much more sense, instead of having a convoluted conspiracy theory, just to have 19 hijackers fly some planes into some buildings, and there you go, instead of where you get into the weird stuff where you got like the voice morphing technology on the cell phones and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that's, if you want to get into the logistics of it, it would be, it's a lot more, it's a lot easier, right, for it just to be this fluke event. And it's the same parallel to the Kennedy assassination here, right? Where it's easier if you have one guy responsible for this. I mean, it works out better, or it makes sense more than this complex plot where you have even people claiming that the planes were holograms around missiles and stuff like that.
That they were drones. Yes, I've heard that.
Or that, and it's like, but you had thousands of people witness this on the ground. You had people on live TV see this stuff, and it's like, come on, it's. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's good that we question, and I think we should demand answers. And if we do have problems, then yeah, we should ask. But I think that there's a point where sometimes you just stretch. It just becomes too much.
This whole war in the Middle East, whether you go back to Desert Storm or going back into Iraq with Saddam, or going into Afghanistan and with the Bin Laden, the Taliban, ISIS, and all that, it's it's interesting. That's what sort of are the types of things. It's like we really I think a lot of this question is born out of like, what are we doing in the Middle East?
Yeah.
Like, we have to have an answer for that, So, like, we kind of, I think, use 9/11 as the answer for a lot of this, right?
I see this on Facebook all the time, or it's like, well, we got to attack Iran or whatever because they're responsible for 9/11. And it's like, no. Are they? No, there's no proof of that, but it's just like automatically, if unfortunately you're in that area, right, you're automatically somehow involved in this stuff, I was
joking with my students today. I'm like, yeah, we're going to be talking about, Western Asia, Asia Minor, the Middle East. I'm going to talk about Asian Jesus later on in the course because he was from Asia. He was an Asian man. And then they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, you don't think about Jesus as being an Asian. Yeah. But he is, and I do. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, you see on the map here? Asia.
Right.
I was like, but Africa's right here, and Europe's right there. Just kidding. But people don't think about it that way. Yeah. We're talking about Western Civ, and I'm like, and we're going to start off with our traditions of the West in Iraq.
Right.
And I'm like, you guys love your Iraqi cultural heritage? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yes. This is what this course is about. Yeah. And they're just like mind blown by it. It's like, yeah, Mesopotamia. That's where we're at, Iraq.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? How it's like this several at least the past 2 centuries of like focus right on like Western civilization
Yeah.
has made it where it's like, okay, yeah, the Fertile Crescent, the Garden of Eden, yeah, that was totally in France. That's kind of what that is, you know, or it's like, it's European, or it's like, yeah, I was in England, or, you know, and it's like, no, it wasn't, you know.
You know what's fascinating to me is that, and I never looked super deep into it, I would like to talk to somebody, but like people that have tried to do the research about the disbursement of the tribes of Israel, right? It would be fascinating to know more about. I thought somebody told me that they knew a guy, and I had him on my podcast at one point that did like some, like his master's thesis on it, but he just master's thesis on something else. He's like, no, that's this other guy we know. And I was like, oh, yeah, he doesn't live here. I need to get down to do like audio, phone, Skype podcast. Man. That's a goal. Cause I would love to, you can get more people on the phone. Do some more like specific like contents about like Woods' buddy on the Pueblo incident, like the podcast that I sent you that he's done. Mitch, I believe is his name. He has this. They're just phone interviews with like a thumbnail background, you know. But they're great. They're a great resource, and it's like that would be good. Yes. That'd be cool to do. It's just have a leading expert that's like, they're never going to come to Russellville, Arkansas, but to be able to still capture the content, get them on the phone, would be great. Yeah. Well, to bring more people in on the 68 thing, I think would be cool. It would. You know, we could plan some guest episodes where, I'm sure Woods would collaborate. He's been on the podcast. Who are some other people? MacArthur. I just talked to him last night. He was at the gym. Aaron MacArthur, Public History. He's been on the podcast maybe twice, but he's going to come back on soon, and we're just going to talk about public history. Yeah. But who else is from that era that I know very well? Man. Everybody's like retired, moved off. Yeah. Passed away. Yeah. I've said this several times. I would love to have Dr. Bush on the podcast. Yeah. That'd be fantastic. I bet he would do it. I just need to. The only reason I haven't is because I have to like reach out to his wife about it. Like he's just like, he's a ghost, man. It's like sometimes I see him out in the community, and he talks to me. He's like, if you ever need anything, let me know. And I'm like, I need you to come on my podcast, dude. Yeah. But I don't know if you know what a podcast is. Oh man. Wow. Yeah. That guy made a huge impact on my life. Yeah. So that's I was talking to you about philosophy, I think, before we started recording. I think it'd be awesome to do more philosophy. I have so much content, like notebooks and folders full of notes in my office. I'm just like, what do you do? Talk about Western civilization and Asian Jesus, apparently. Yeah. Well, hey, let's I guess let's wrap up this Pink Floyd singles / Well, we could do the unreleased ones, because there are 2. Let's do that. There are 2. Yeah. Which well, I say they're released now. They were on Pink Floyd's the early years or whatever. But originally there was a planned single when Syd Barrett was still in the band, which was I don't know if they figured out the A-side or B-side for it, but there were 2 songs, and we'll start with the first one, which is Scream Thy Last Scream, which has lead vocals actually by Nick Mason, who plays drums, of course, in Pink Floyd. And Syd Barrett is in the background, and like his vocals are sped up, and they just sound really weird. I mean, this is supposed to be like, allegedly they were unreleased because, I mean, this and Vegetable Man are considered like Barrett's deteriorating mental state, right? So it's like, it's sad, right? Is that a harmonica? I don't know, but lead vocals by Nick Mason. The early years, 65 through 67. Yeah. Syd Barrett was like 14 when he started playing with them, was he not? I think so, they all started playing together. Yeah. That's Syd singing there. I think it was Barlow and I that listened when he came on, but who does a lot of Floyd covers, like entire albums, is Les Claypool.
Yeah.
Like, he does a pretty good job too.
This is a weird song, Brian.
It really is. It does almost have, like, a lot of this stuff does kind of almost have that Beatles-esque feel to it.
Right,
like, as the Beatles were going more experimental.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's got kind of a Strawberry Fields kind of vibe to it. But it's just, it's weird. But yeah, this is they didn't release this, and I think it's a good song. I mean, I like it, but I guess they considered it too far out at this point, and I guess they were trying to phase. Unfortunately, they were trying to phase Syd Barrett out at this point too of the band.
Sad.
Allegedly, they didn't even tell him like he was out of the band. They just didn't pick him up for a band practice. They were just
like a gig. Was it a gig?
Or it may have been a gig. Right?
Something like that.
But yeah, it's like, hey, should we go pick up Syd? And they're just like, nah, we'll just go. And then of course, right, he shows up like 5-6 years later, right, at the recording sessions for Wish You Were Here, without any hair and overweight, and
it's wild, man. Like that, back to the mental illness thing, it's like if he was suffering from one or multiple, but depression, weight gain, mental illness, there's a lot of things that if you look at that guy and you look at his personality, maybe he got addicted to LSD like he got addicted to sweets.
Yeah, you just has that, right. Yeah, I understand what.
So I'm getting a text from an insurance agent about commercial building insurance.
Nice.
It's going to be a whole lot of that stuff going on. Not looking forward to it so much. What is this? The last single?
Well, this wasn't a single. This is an unreleased track.
Okay.
It was meant to be a single.
Yeah, okay.
Right. It was meant to be, and then it was just like, well, Barrett fell apart at this point, and he was, pretty much, they couldn't get anything else out of him. But this and another song, which the next one is Vegetable Man, which is one of my, I love that song. Like, but it's weird, it's warped, and it's allegedly Barrett wrote it in like 15-20 minutes, and it's like about clothes and about like it's him. In a way, he's kind of like, it's self-deprecating. It's almost like he's commenting on himself. And like the clothes, like the psychedelic clothes that he wears, and does it make him the person that he is? And which is weird because it brings in this whole other dynamic of was Syd Barrett like cognizant of what was happening to him at this point? And is he like peppering lyrics and stuff in there to kind of reflect like how he's feeling, right?
I could see that. Because
there's a song at the end of Saucer Full of Secrets that's called Jug Band Blues, right? Which is like, in a way, it sounds almost like Syd's writing his own exit. It's weird, but Vegetable Man's great.
Is this do you have this album? I guess this is an album.
Yeah, I mean,
Pink Floyd, the early years, 65,
yeah, it's available
67.
on iTunes. It was part of a giant box set that was like...
How does iTunes work now? Do you know? Didn't they change things up?
No.
Because I used to have to submit my podcast to iTunes. Now, when I upload it to my host, it goes straight to Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go to iTunes anymore. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's kind of a proto-punk kind of vibe, right? It's like a driving type. But yeah, he's technically in this song, he's like making fun of himself. Like here, he's saying like, in a way, I'm shallow. It's weird, are that I've become this image when I wear these clothes. I don't know who I am unless I have these things.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, but profound.
Right. It's like I want to say Roger Waters is a big fan of this song, or he likes to quote the lyrics from it because he feels like, I think that it's like a picture of sort of Syd Barrett's mental state, that maybe he's kind of aware of what's going on. Like these lyrics, been looking for a place for me, but it ain't anywhere. It just ain't anywhere, So it's like, ooh. But yeah. So I guess he's the vegetable man because he wears all these colorful clothes, and he's kind of getting made fun of because of it, right?
Or I wonder if it's like that. I wonder if the title in any way is commenting on his mental state.
Right, that too. Yeah, is that right? That he's blank. Yeah, that there's nothing going on.
Have you read One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest?
No, I have not.
I just finished it, man.
So highly recommended then? Yeah.
It's gonna take from you. But
yeah.
It's a good trade.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess what's interesting about like these final like Syd songs is that it's kind of like, is he kind of like aware of that he's like shutting down, that he's like falling apart?
I wonder if he maybe could have had like multiple personality disorders, like what all he had going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the debate. It's like, was he schizophrenic? Did he have multiple personalities?
Right.
I mean, was he like, have you seen that movie Split?
Yes.
Was he like a Patricia
right,
and Hedwig and a Jade and all of these different personalities, and like one of his personalities was the front man of Pink Floyd, and the other is maybe an autistic painter, and the other's a little boy, and
right. Well, I mean, yeah, if you study like the lyric stuff, it's kind of like all over the place, right? It's like she's like, candy in a currant bun is, I think, about just like drugs and casual sex, right? But it's like then you get to apples and oranges, and it's about, hey, there's this cute girl at the supermarket, or the gnome from Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which is about a gnome. I mean, it's kind of just like all over the place, right?
Yeah.
It's like you go from like kind of adult stuff to like not adult stuff, like child things, and it's like, well, okay, maybe he wrote this when he was 14 or something.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating too, how sometimes we get younger adults, like before they're 25, say, that will come out with profound, ahead of their time stuff, but really they're super young, and it doesn't make it doesn't make a lot of sense. They haven't had a ton of experiences, but yet they're creating this great art, and people appreciate it and consume it for what it is. But that at the end of the day, it's like, what experience is a 19-year-old deriving from, really? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's true. Sort of a case in that I can think of. You ever listen to any Joy Division before?
Mm-mm. Joy Division.
Joy Division. Right. Yeah. They were from England, from like the late 70s. They were like a punk act. Well, I mean, they were post-punk. But their lead singer was a guy named Ian Curtis. He hanged himself at the age of 23. But like just like deeply, like profoundly, just like dark. Almost.
See, there's got to be something with like IQ, intelligence level, like the tortured creative genius, like the person who.
Like we're talking like Nietzsche philosophical type, existential, like, and I mean, this is like, I mean, these guys were from Manchester. I mean, they're like working class lads, and it's just like this elevated to this great art or whatever. And, but yeah, these lyrics don't sound like they're coming from like a 20-year-old, you say a kid, but he suffered from epilepsy. And he was on medication for epilepsy, which like really messed with his quality of life. And he had bipolar, allegedly. And Also a deteriorating marriage that didn't help too. So it's like if you probably have all these things kind of crushing in on you, you know, when you're in your early 20s, or you know, and if you don't have the coping mechanisms or whatever.
So, somebody said something to me earlier. I don't remember what it was, but I was just like, it was a guy I work with that was older. And I was like, bro, that's not helping any of my existential issues.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about like this kind of stuff about like ways to grapple and deal with life. And he made some like generalization. I was like, that's not helping any of my existentialism that I got going on right now. Because man, we do, I think, the biggest things I think that influence those types of things like poverty level, pressure to continue putting out and performing.
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel I'm on the other side of going through some of that about like you set the bar real high and you perform and you put out and you put out and you put out and you expect at some point for it to start getting easier so you can raise the bar again. Actually, that's kind of always been my strategy. But also now I'm just like, I'm really not wanting to per se raise the bar again. Is so much as like refine the current level I'm on and actually loop back and get better at things that I avoided that were weaknesses for me.
Yeah. Right.
Like playing scales on the guitar. I can learn how to play scale. I've been feeling a lot better about like cool leads I've been doing. Dylan and I played the other night. I got to jam with you, jam with Neil Harrington. And just like what I was saying to you, every time I play with somebody, I like learn like that chord that you were showing. It's kind of like an E minor, but it's like a B over D sort of thing. But I knew use that chord all the time, but I never thought about moving it.
Yeah.
But I love movable chords.
Right.
So it's like, and then Dylan and I were jamming. And I just always pick something up from somebody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely cool. You know, but yeah, move those chords, man. You know, don't feel fixed, right? Because I mean, it like some people might be, oh, you know, that's lazy or whatever, and it's like, no, you're just trying to find a different sound.
I love doing movable chords specifically with open tunings that I've experimented with. I don't play open tunings a lot, but I want to start doing it more. Like I have enough guitars that I've been thinking of a system of like, okay, I'm going to keep this guitar in this tuning. Like have a couple of alternate tuned guitars and then a drop D guitar and then the rest standards. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great benefit of having like 20 instruments in my house.
Right. If you're David Gilmour, you know, you could probably do that where it's like, hey, I've got this guitar set up for this, or, you know.
This is when I want to cheese grater your face on a blues scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Gilmour, man. Did you listen to watch the live in Pompeii he did, and I think it was 2016?
No, I've not seen
my apartment when I saw that.
The most recent, or well, yeah. I mean, because it's you say Pink Floyd live in Pompeii, I'm like, yeah, man, 1971.
Yeah,
and it's like, no,
with echoes and stuff.
Yeah, right. It's like no, this is the later. Yeah.
Here, I'll throw up one real quick, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay, I mean that's cool, because I mean, like David Gilmour is one of my absolute favorite guitar players, so. You know, I mean, I know that's kind of a popular pick, but you know what? The guy's just that good. So, I mean, he's just he's just a cool dude. So.
Widespread Panic sometimes plays the intro to this, and then they'll go into one of their songs.
Yeah. Oh, so what? You kind of like psych out the audience. Yeah, we're going to get run like hell. And then it's like, nope.
Yeah, they do that. It teases all the time, man. And they do it like, they call them sandwiches. They'll play a song and then they'll meander into like 3 other songs. Like, we're just coming back to finish up that first song real quick right here. A sandwich.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from 2016?
2016, live in Pompeii. Yes, he did an album. But it's like a live DVD too. Yeah. It's great. I think the whole live performance is on YouTube.
Man, how do you even see?
He has all of his people have glasses on.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Like kind of unreal, man. Put down your cell phones and just enjoy the show, folks.
We are here to worship you, David. We are paying homage. We bow beneath your feet.
Dude, I love that song.
I do too, man. This whole beginning part.
Yeah. It looks like he's playing a telly. He's got a Telecaster.
I can't even.
Right, I know.
I can't even beat
it
it on the body, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds good.
Yeah. That may be his Esquire. I think it's like a 1955 Fender Esquire, which I want to say is the guitar that he used on Dogs. But yeah, man,
that's got to be my favorite Floyd song, honestly. Dogs.
It's just bad because it's like, yeah, I love David Gilmour, but it's like when I hear this song, it's like I want to hear Waters though, you know? It's like, why can't we just have the best of both here?
I know, man.
Where it's like they're together and they don't hate each other as much, or I mean, I don't know what their relationship is now, but
they played acoustically and stuff together a couple of times. I guess
it's better, it's a lot better. So
I've been doing more movable D chords.
Yeah,
as well.
Man.
Movable Ds, and then also like imagine like an F, but sliding it down to the third through the fifth fret. It's like a variation of a G.
Yes,
right. Yeah. It's kind of like a G bar, but I've just been playing that 4-string version of that.
Yeah,
and playing it with like those movable D chords.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that Roger had to get 3 guitar players to fill in for David Gilmour at the show.
Man, just... Yeah.
You are not Roger.
No. But he wants to be. It's going to be fun when we get to the wall trying to decipher that story, because there's a lot going on, and it's like, what's real, what isn't real, are we just completely in Pink's head, that sort of thing. That is an awesome guitar though. But
man, I love this song.
David Gilmour was like one of the first guys who was like really into like rack mounted effects units, like in the 80s, like in the late 70s and the 80s.
Man, it's gonna be so cool to sit down, and it's my goal to listen to all of the albums of like Floyd, Zeppelin, Tool, Panic, and just do podcasts on them. But just to be able to say I sat down and I listened to and thought about all of these albums and spent time with them,
Are we going to do the Beatles? Is that going to happen?
I would do the Beatles.
Okay, that's cool
for sure.
I may be able to get Julian on it because she's a big Beatles fan too. So
that's the cool thing about the Music Unraveled, like just doing the albums is. You could do that format with any band and just do all their discography.
I'm gonna send you back to Mother and a Cardboard.
Yeah, he's aping Roger's shit super hard right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. This sounds like a freaking elephant trumpeting, man.
I'm gonna have to go back and do my research, but I don't remember if Richard Wright did this or not, because he got like, I want to say Roger threw him out of the band.
Yes, and then David like brought him back. Or something. I think he came back, but then he definitely played with David after the Roger left.
But I mean, that just seems like kind of a.
Didn't they kick him out and then hire him to like sit in or something like that?
Yeah, like as a session musician or whatever. Yeah, that was, man, one of the founding members or whatever.
Awkward,
and it's like
petty, awkward shit.
Yeah.
I wonder like how much of this like people like were, there's a lot of rumors about them all having different bouts with drug and alcoholism at different times in the band and different albums.
Right. I want to say this is always like an encore piece for them, right? They would always play this or whatever. Like when they got the band back together in the 80s, I want to say this was like the encore. So they go out there and play Run Like Hell and everybody would just go crazy, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
Man, I love this song.
It's good, man. It's a feel-good song.
I just, even if it's just David Gilmour solo, it's a great song.
What's interesting is to see the subtle differences. Roger and David, and I think it was this same year that I saw Roger the first time, but they play a lot of the same songs.
Yeah.
But they play a lot of different songs. Also, so they probably play about 60% of the same stuff.
Oh man, look at all that money.
Yep. This is what you paid for, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
These are your tickets.
Oh my gosh.
Colby's always calling David Gilmour fish face man.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was good. That was I don't think I've heard a bad version of that song by any of the Floyd members, but
every version I've ever heard of it's great. I love it, and I love it when Roger plays it on the bass. I gotta admit, like that, the sort of lead in, and that's how Panic kind of does it. Is their bass player he does a delay on the bass.
Yeah.
So it sounds super awesome.
Oh man, that's just so cool.
Yeah.
If I ever got the opportunity to see David Gilmour in concert, I would. To see Roger Waters, I would. I'd do it. To be like, hey, these guys, they helped influence me as a musician, and they enriched my life, in some capacity,
I felt like I was definitely witnessing something very special with the Roger Waters concert that I would never forget, and that I hope that he does another run.
Yeah.
But I also, he's 70. I very much got the feel that I may never get to see something like that again.
Yeah, he's also ultra political too, which
he's also ultra capitalistic, man. He talks shit about that, but it's like, dude, your shirts are $75.
Yeah.
Okay, like just take people's money.
And he's always railing against Israel. That's like his.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit going on over there too.
Yeah, it's like, all right, it's like, I'm just here to enjoy the music.
Yes. Please stop arguing with Tom York, please.
Yeah.
Or don't they have like some sort of feud about Israel going, him and the good dude from Radiohead?
I didn't know that.
I think so. Like they're talking shit about like one of them playing there.
Is that do you like Radiohead, Brian? Oh, okay.
I hate them,
So when I was a teenager, man, I loved Radiohead.
Yeah, like back in like
Computer,
90s.
Yes. I was like, man, these guys are like, they're on another planet, man.
I was just talking about Karma Police to somebody the other day. That's a classic. And too, I was listening to an old Verve album the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, they have more good music than I thought or remembered or really ever got into.
Now the Verve, they're the ones who did Bittersweet Symphony, right?
Yes,
And they got sued by the Rolling Stones. They got sued by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
I heard something about that. I didn't know. I don't know.
Because they lifted, I guess, the sample from some orchestral album that was like arrangements of their tracks or something like that. Allegedly, I think they got okayed, but then once it started making money, I think Jagger and Richards were like, hey, we want in on that,
Yeah. Well, Led Zeppelin.
Jeremy told me about that. I didn't know that Zeppelin had ripped off a bunch of riffs
like
and
20,
stuff. I was like,
20 tracks worth.
I was never like a huge Zeppelin fan in any capacity. Like I respect them
Jimmy
and
Page
I like them, but it's just like, it's like, oh God, I don't know how I feel now.
I love how they are obsessed with Crowley.
Speaking of Led Zeppelin and rip-offery, I guess we can call it, right?
Plagiarism.
Plagiarism, yes, plagiarism, right? Is have you seen the Jimmy Page Mirror Telecaster?
No.
Where he put like mirror discs on it or whatever. This is like something he was doing like back, I guess, in the early 70s.
I don't know. No, I don't think I've
around
seen
Led
that.
Zeppelin 1 or 2 or whatnot. But apparently Syd Barrett was doing the same thing like several years before that. So Jimmy Page.
Eat your heart out, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy Page.
Colby always wants to argue Jimmy Page is the greatest guitar player of all time. What do you think about that statement?
I respect Jimmy Page. I think he's probably a cool dude, even though, man, it's just like, I don't know I feel like Jimmy Page spent like about 20 years where he wasn't sober, and it's like, but it's, I mean, he's good, but I don't know. There's just something that's a bit show offy about what is like.
People say he's got sloppy technique.
Yeah, or
intentional.
Well, or it's just like, or the fact that he takes the stage with like, oh, I've got like a 1959 Les Paul, sunbursts, like Gibson Les Paul, and it's like, who in real life can afford something like that? Who isn't like a CEO, or the double neck, like 12 string / 6 string guitar. To me, it's a bit much. It's a bit garish. It's a bit opulent for me. Like you see David Gilmour on here and he's playing like a Telecaster or whatever, which is, I mean, that guitar is worth money, but it's like, I don't know, there's something more genuine about it to me. It's like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm taking the stage with this guitar just to show that I have this and that you don't, and that this is like a godlike instrument or whatever, instead of like, I just really like this guitar. This is really cool. And like I just enjoy playing it. Like, it's like an extension of my artistic abilities or whatever.
You've seen The Last Waltz, yes?
Yes.
The band.
Yeah.
Have you seen that 6 string / double neck with the mandolin that they had on that? That blew my mind.
Yeah. But I don't know what they were thinking, sort of like in the late 60s, early 70s. It's just like, we're going to just take things to the max.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have things to talk about now.
Yeah.
That Last Waltz is great. I love watching. Man, and I'm so partial to like the Levon Helm tracks. That's like literally all the band songs that I like are Levon Helm sang. I don't know if I didn't connect the dots on that really, because I thought he'd sang all the songs at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, these other dudes sing too? I had no idea. But yeah, and they're from Canada?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The Bob Dylan connection, man.
That too. That's special.
Right.
Wow. And too, I like how Levon Helm is like, how he sings. He's playing like, I don't know how really, but he turns sideways and sings, but he's just like off over here.
Yeah.
And it looks awkward, but that's what that's how he makes it work. It's interesting. He's like talked about it on camera and stuff, but interesting technique. Very interesting technique. Like turning your head to sing.
Yeah.
All vocal coaches would be like, you don't do that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Man, what's your favorite band song? You have one?
No, not exactly. I didn't really get into the band that much. I mean, I've seen The Last Waltz, the film, like I never really did. Like, other than like the Dylan stuff, like the Basement tapes and all that. I mean, that's about it.
I like Ophelia and The Shape I'm In. Those are two of my favorites. The Weight, obviously, that's a classic. Yes. What's another good one? The Night They Drove Dixie Down. It's about end of the Civil War. Yeah, it's pretty interesting song. Yeah, honestly. But yeah, man, I've got the Panic covers some of the band songs periodically, and have played with a bunch of the people that were on the last one, Dr. John and so on. Yeah, I think we mentioned Dr. John before we started recording, or I did. So yeah, man. Well, dude, so we'll be doing some album podcasts, some music unraveled. Yeah, I'm going to be collaborating in some different ways with Ben Aiken on some music content. I don't really know 100% what, but we're going to do. He's got some new music he's going to work on. We're going to listen to some of his music on the podcast.
Wow.
And I think I'm going to set it to where I can actually plug his music. Like what the stuff we were listening to, the audience actually couldn't hear that.
Well, that's got to be weird for them.
Well, like I typically they can I'm like, oh, we're doing this video. They can do it too, and like watch along or whatever, watch it later. Like I find out about so much cool shit just by listening to podcasts. Yeah. Bro, have you seen this video? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Like, what are you guys talking about? I should, and I look it up right then, you know? So that's the sort of benefit. And two, like, I think, I just had an approach almost like reading a book. Like anymore, I don't listen to well, I mean, I know we just did, but like random tracks. I try to listen to whole albums, man. I think that's like a lost thing.
Yeah,
like we could just listen to our favorites. Let me type it in my Spotify.
Right.
I'd make a playlist of my favorites.
Well, that's why I think it's great that, you know, we sort of start this thing with Pink Floyd, because they are like the quintessential like album band, right? Yeah. It's like where each track has its place. It tells a story or something.
It is. It's a narrative, man.
Right.
It's
take one track off of like Dark Side and it's just like, you know, you can't do it, right?
You can't.
Even the instrumentals, man. Any Color You Like. I love that song, dude.
Yeah, on Metal, what is the one with the dog?
Oh, that's
Mademoiselle Knobs.
Uh-huh,
what is that? What is the name of the song?
Oh no, that's Seamus, right?
Seamus.
Yeah, Seamus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before Echoes, right? It's like it's in right, but
with the harmonica.
Yeah.
That dog is so cute too. It's a beautiful dog.
See, this is gonna be because it may spark a little bit of debate, because like I love Metal. Metal's a great album, but I really think that like the Floyd got their act together with Adam Hart Mother, man. I love that record.
I'll be looking forward to listening to that one. That's a good album for sure.
Yeah,
and it's like, when's the last time you sat down and listened to that album all the way through? Maybe you have recently. I sure
man,
haven't.
It's probably been like maybe 2 years or something like that. But it's still like, man, I'm like, yeah, I remember all these songs, man, and I dig. You know, I mean, like some people are like, oh, it's still like aimless stoner rock or whatever. But it's like no, they're getting somewhere finally. You know, it's cohesive. It's coming together.
Man, there's so many Pink Floyd cover bands out there too. You ever seen any play live or anything?
Not in person, no.
I've seen one cover band. They were up at like Birds Fest.
Okay.
But they were okay. I saw that Grateful Dead cover band, The Schwag, as well.
Well, did they do as good as a Roger Waters imitation as the gentleman that we saw in the video here? Did they?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
That guy was really into
he
Roger
was.
Waters. He was emulating him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, have you ever seen that movie Pineapple Express?
Yes.
So I have these, we had boxing class yesterday. I have 3 really tall dudes, like some of the tallest guys I've ever trained, all in the same class. One of them's like brand spanking new, and one of them's had 15 fights, and the others had 3 fights. And the guy that has 3 fights was a college football player, and he's like 6'5" or something. But there's like, and then the other guy's like 6'1", and he's had all these fights. And then the other guy's like new, but he's like, he thinks he's tiny. He like doesn't know how to get his, like, to be big, to use his reach or whatever. And I was like, bro, new guy, imagine that this guy and that guy got together and fucked. Yeah, remember that, like James Franco, and they're talking about the weed strands or whatever. I was like, I need you to become the shit that these 2 dudes birthed.
Yeah.
Man. Like, come into your own, you know, like emulate them. But, you know, that's the cool, an interesting thing about art. And I think people call it imposter syndrome a lot of time, is that we think, are there original ideas? Is imitation the best form of flattery?
Yeah.
Like, can we even do anything that's not an imitation as humans? And like everything we have around is some song. Oh, I like Star Wars. I'm going to build a Star Wars puzzle.
Yeah.
It's just an imitation of something that was created by somebody, but the thing that they created is not. They didn't have the patent on it usually.
Right. No, I hear you.
Space operas, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we'll be back for multiple Pink Floyd album reviews.
It's going to be great to have Jeremy on here.
It is, man. Yeah. I told Jeremy when he first came on the podcast, like, dude, it'd be dope to have you and Thurman on at the same time. Because, like,
we used to talk about these Floyd records, like, all the time. And, like...
Well, I mean, that's, like... That's what friends do.
Right.
You know, they talk about albums, and they listen to albums, and it's like the...
I was going to save this, but, like, that's, like Jeremy and I, like, when we first met, which was like 16 years ago, you know, when we were working at Walmart together.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we cultivated our friendship technically over Pink Floyd, You know, that like,
wow.
Like, cause like he just like randomly was like seeing empty spaces, right? You know, what shall we use to fill the empty spaces, right? And I was like, where we used to talk about.
Dude, okay, so check this out.
Yeah, so I finished the rest of the lyrics, you know, how shall I complete the wall, right? You know, and it was just like, and it's like, yeah, you're a cool dude, you know? But yeah, so reminiscing.
I met Jeremy when I was like 8 years old, man. We went to church together when we were kids.
I think you told me that.
Yeah, and like he was super into Star Wars and like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and shit.
Yeah.
And we bonded over all that, like, you know, sort of stuff. I remember having like a birthday party, like sleepover type thing one time. We stayed up all night. It was also super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then honestly, like until the brief stint that I worked at Walmart, I really didn't see or talk to Jeremy very much after like junior high all the way through high school, and then really didn't see him very much other than on social media. And I just kind of stayed in contact with him over the years a little bit, would shoot him a message and say what's up. And it's also another benefit of the podcast, like it just gives you an excuse. It's not bullshit small talk like, oh hey, what's up?
Yeah,
how you been? You know, like
wonderful weather we're having. You know.
Yes, it's like David Gilmour versus Roger Waters. Who you got? You know, it's more than that.
It's going to get interesting when we get to Pink Gilmour, where it's just David Gilmour, because like Momentary Lapse of Reason and all that, because
was it Division Bell?
Right, because that's where it's like it's gonna get land. You know, hey,
I'd be interested to go through that too, and also like it is a spinoff to evaluate. This could be its own podcast. I would like to do a back-to-back listen of David Gilmour's solo album, first solo album, and Roger Waters' first solo album.
Well, I'm already gonna go out on and say, just probably premature to everything, but Gilmour's solo work is better.
I know, right? That's why I don't make for a good podcast.
It's like, okay, you got Self-Entitled versus Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking.
The David Gilmour song, No Way Out of Here, love it, dude. Yeah. That's off his first album, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but it's fantastic song. Major business. Oh man, I don't want to hear about the commercial insurance, guys. It's Friday.
Yeah, go into your
Sending
weekend.
Me screenshots that have $4,000 on. I don't know what that means. I was trying to podcast.
Yeah,
that's like all the time at the gym. People are like, Brian, I need to pay. I was like, I don't do that, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just here to choke people tonight and to talk about this guy, about how he needs to emulate the child of these two guys. Okay.
Yeah. yeah.
It's kind of nice though, because I literally I need to do more business things, but I do tons of marketing, and once the studio's at the gym, I'll do more gym related audio content. I do some vlogs and shit, but I haven't done a whole lot. So, well, man, let's wrap it up, and we'll see you back in the studio soon, Thurman. Yep. We've got multiple little strands of podcasts after the shows, Music Unraveled, History Unraveled with the 1968 series that we're working on, and continue to do research. So keep tuning in. We appreciate everybody's support. Signing off.
All right.